And we're back. Welcome to No Direction, the Pathfinder news, reviews, and interviews podcast. I'm Vanessa Hoskins.
And I'm Luis Loza.
And today we are joined by the illustrious Stephen Glicker and Mark Seifter, Roll for Combat's very own Battle Zoo masterminds, to talk about Pokemon? No, Eldamon. I'm sorry, I got the name wrong. So you have devised something I don't think that Pathfinder fans or most like D20 system fans have ever seen before. What is an Eldamon? Please let us know. And welcome to the show.
An Eldamon is a sort of ancient elemental creature. They're kind of often playful, although they have different personalities. They're phased out of existence the way that we understand the world around us. And they often like to meld into creatures or items or locations that are sort of associated with their element. Now, when I say element, it's not like the elemental planes. There's 10 elements or possibly up to 20, depending on if we hit all of our stretch goals that include like music and things like that. So it's not really traditional elements. That's just sort of the name we use for that.
Okay.
So an Eldamon basically is hanging out inside this creature or item or location. And when you go there in the adventure, might pop out and you will have a chance to try to befriend it if you understand what it likes. And the reason we did that is I have seen some people try to homebrew something vaguely similar to like monster training. It always winds up being like Pokemon where you have to like fight the monster and get it low and then get it to join your party. And that requires the GM and the rest of the group to like really change what they're doing to put in all these encounters just for you, the person who's playing the monster trainer. So with Eldamon, the Eldamon trainer can kind of, pick up Eldamon by running the adventure that could be pre-published or just whatever the GM was already going to do.
All right, very cool. So it takes that monster training theme that is so popular in like Pokemon. I know World of Warcraft did like a monster trainer. It's a very popular theme, but I don't think we've really had a successful version of it in a D20 system. What makes this version of monster training unique? What makes it work?
So like I had mentioned before, one of the keys is that it doesn't put extra stress on the GM to like bend over backwards, making the adventure be about the trainer. In fact, if the GM wants to, and just like assuming you trust your player not to just be, oh my gosh, it's a super rare Eldamon, I found one every time. The player can just roll on tables that will include to figure out if they found Eldamon on their own and just like as an activity that doesn't have to require the GM to get involved in it, and they're going to be fine. The GM is able to invest in it to add to the richness of what's going on as much as they want or as they're interested in it. So I think that's something that's pretty different, and I haven't seen any takes that were thinking about how the GM and the rest of the group are interfacing with the monster trainer in the same way.
One of the things that I know that you've talked a lot about this on other shows and at PaizoCon, one of the things I liked about it was that rather than, like you were saying, the traditional monster trainer method of like you find them and you beat them up and then you force them to work for you and then you force them to fight other monsters. And there's a lot of moral questions when that comes up. And one of the things I really liked about the Eldamon is that you are just befriending these like spirits that even if they perish in battle or they fail to succeed, they're not dead, right? They're just little spirits that manifest and then disappear, and you're making friends with them and they're helping you of their own free will. And I thought that was a cool way to do it, and getting away from that go browbeat a creature and make it work for you sort of mentality.
Yeah, keeping away from like illegal dog fighting rings.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before in past interviews that I've actually been having this idea for a long time. I actually came up with the idea before even Pokemon came out. And a big part of it, believe it or not, actually was World of Warcraft, because I was a big World of Warcraft player, and John Stats, as you know, was like on the team, and I did do the pet battles. So that's one of the areas. Like I can actually tell you where the inspirations came from. Came from the World of Warcraft pet battles, which I really enjoyed and was fun, and I had a lot of the pets. And what actually clicked for me was the Spren system from Brandon Sanderson's novels, and he has this whole system. And what's it called again? The Stormlight Archive. Stormlight Archive. I can remember for a second. Stormlight Archive, and that whole concept of Spren being everywhere and in items, and then you can interact with them. And then that was it. That was like, that's what clicked. I was like, there you go. That sort of was like the combination of, okay, I think people who have tried to do this in the past or even thought to homebrew it, they literally just do it like, there are monsters out there and I go find them, and then I either capture them or befriend them, and then they are now mine. But then you're always looking for monsters, and it sort of channels it into a very narrow column, a very narrow area of where you can find and then deal with these. And we had to come up with a way for this to work in any setting, in any game, whether it's your game or a pre-written one or on the moon. It doesn't matter where this is. It's like it has to work. And then the Spren system works because it's everywhere. And I was like, there you go. And then so we used that system and then kind of adjusted a bit. And then I don't know if Spren, I don't think they can die. Like they talk about them in the books.
Well, let's not get too far into spoilers for.
Yeah, well, okay, that's the way we'll get into spoilers. But the point is they
not for Brandon Sanderson's series. The fan of No Direction are not expected to come into this and get spoilers for like the latest books of Stormlight Archive. But
okay, but my point is that they exist, they're phased out. And that
they normally can't die. You'd have to do something pretty weird to kill them.
Exactly. It's incredibly hard and very rare.
With Eldamon, they're roughly in the same place.
Exactly.
So I was trying to like come up with ways to explain what I was going for with these mechanics with Steven. And the moment I mentioned Spren, like he said, it just clicked. And he's like, yes, now I get it. I know what you're saying. And I understand where it's coming from, because they're a cultural touchstone now. And like you said, Vanessa, it's important. We don't want like a dogfighting or cockfighting ring here. So these Eldamon, they sometimes playfully fight each other. When they're in their normal state where they're phased out, it barely has any consequences. Like they can make a giant meteor storm fall. It's not going to actually burn the forest around them. You'll be able to hit other Eldamon that are also phased out, but it's not going to like char off their body or anything like that. Just at worst, they'll get tired because their energy is depleted a little. Now, if you're an Eldamon trainer and you're in the class, you can phase them into the real world. And then things could get a little bit more real. Your fire Eldamon could burn the tree in the forest, and you can burn the ogre that you're fighting. And your Eldamon can take more consequences at that point in time. However, in order to protect them, there are ways that you basically take some of the consequences for them in order to prevent them from suffering greatly from what happens to them.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
Steven, before we get into these classes and all the other fancy stuff here, you said you've had the idea for a while now. Why now? I mean, what was why is the iron hot now for you in terms of bringing it over to the RPGs? Is it that you specifically wanted, you feel that PF2, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, is a good fit for it, or is there something else going on with it?
That is a good question. Yes, because when I read Pathfinder 2 and I saw how it was built, and it's very modular, it's almost like a computer program. It would work very well with the Pathfinder 2 system. And I wanted to do it, but I didn't know exactly how to do it. And then when Mark and I started to talk about the monster part system, that's why we did our Kickstarter last year. The Kickstarter last year for Battles of Bestiary and the monster part system and dragons was, believe it or not, that actually was the test. that actually was not the real one. That was almost our
I mean, it
prototype.
was real.
It
but
was okay. Let me rephrase
call it a
it.
warm up.
It's a warm up. That's a better. Well, actually, a lot of people do that. A lot of people try to do warm ups because I didn't want to like come out with my A plus material. I come out with my A material. Not
you want to test the pipeline a bit.
Right, and plus, actually,
otherwise
we
you might burst the pipeline because you don't know how to.
We learned a lot. We actually did learn a lot, and it was actually very useful to do. So, like, we're much more ahead of the game now. We have a lot more art. I've already worked with the production companies for like things like minis and plushies and dice. Like this stuff's actually, in fact, it's already ready to go. So,
I mean, Steven may have plushies underneath the screen right now where you can't see them.
Maybe.
The
point is that we're way ahead of schedule, and to be honest, because I got Mark, man. It's like it's such a complex concept. I mean, we're making it sound simple, but I mean, you probably know, Luis, it's so hard. We're trying to make this a system that works in anything. It can work in Starfinder. It can work in, with a little bit of work, it can work in Starfinder. It can work.
You'd have to convert
anything.
You'd have to convert the moves, like the special abilities, into Starfinder.
Oh, sure.
But once you've done that,
works.
like if you're, it's really easy to convert the Eldamon themselves. They take very little time. The moves is actually probably a significant conversion, but they're smaller in like scope than the number of Eldamon that exist. Right. So
and now's the time. I mean, Mark and I have talked about it. We have many more books in the pipeline, and in fact we were figuring out like which ones we should come out with, and we had like 3 big ones, and the first big one was monster parts. The second big one is this and Eldamon, and there's a third one, but
okay, what's the third
that's
one?
next year.
We can't say.
In
fact, that third one was almost, it was going to be the second one. It almost
was our second book,
but then after Steven hired me, he's like, actually, we're ready. We're going to do Eldamon this time. And I was
I was going to do the second book, but then I changed it. And because, I felt like it was, because it started to click and I found good artists. I don't know. I just felt like
also the Spren explanation came in like around that time, and that really clicked it in for you. I remember.
Yeah. So it just is like, now it seems a good time to do it. And quite frankly, the Pathfinder 2 system is pretty much perfect for this type of modular monster system.
And since we're making it so that it can be easily done into other systems, 5e is going to work great for it too.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in a lot of your promotional material, you also show that it's for 5th edition. So I was curious about that.
It is.
I think it's going to work great for 5e too as well. But like, obviously, like, anyone who has been part of creating a system probably is biased towards the ones that they made, and I certainly like the system that I worked on too. So
sure,
I will probably enjoy playing it a little more in Pathfinder 2nd edition due to my bias, but I think it's going to work great in both systems. Or like Steven said, if someone wanted to convert the moves in other systems, you could have it in Powered by the Apocalypse or something.
Yeah, it should work. I mean, we're basically, and that's why I even hired Mark, specifically that we're not just coming up with new monsters. I mean, this is a system, it's a subsystem, but it's almost a system. I mean, it's going to work seamlessly with whatever it works with, and it'll be standalone if you need it to be. And
that was an interesting part. Talk to me more about it being standalone. How does Eldamon work if it's completely without another role-playing system to latch on to?
Good question. We've got cards for that. So the Eldamon Battles card game is essentially the standalone component. It'll allow you to do an Eldamon duel against somebody else's Eldamon, where you just have a battle, and you can do more than just one duel. You could be like, we each bring 3 Eldamon, and the first 2, we do them one at a time, and the first to take down 3 wins. But essentially, it has the same moves and the same Eldamon that you're used to from playing it in 5e or PF2, but their abilities are on cards, and the cards have speeds that determine when they go in relation to each other. So you play them secretly face down and then flip over and see what the other person played. So it's very simple to play. And in fact, you can create a quote AI that just like randomly plays their cards. It's not very good at the game, but like it does conceptually play the game in a legal way. And that also means that like a little kid could probably do it too by just kind of flipping over cards, mostly at random. And a lot of the depth of the game is in the psychology of trying to figure out what people are going to do. So if I was playing on like Mind, which does not right now in my sample have very many damaging effects, and Vanessa was Fire and had some high damage ones and some lower damage that were fast. I was like, no, I think Vanessa is going to attack me with a slow, powerful fire move. So I'll play this one that has a medium speed, does a little bit of damage, and cancels Vanessa's move as long as I came before her. So if I was wrong and she was doing a fast move, then I kind of blew it. But if I was right, then she loses her move. And so things like that, thinking about what your opponent is going to do, allows it to be very simple to play while having the depth comes from the depth of like strategizing against your opponent. And the thing I think is funny is that because of the fact it's got the same names of the moves and the Eldamon from your characters. So you can use it if other people are taking too long shopping and like, let's play a 5 to 10 minute Eldamon battle over here.
Yeah, we'll just mess around over here while they're discussing which Ion Stone to buy.
And faster than normal combat. And if you, let's say like Vanessa was playing with her PF2 group and was an Eldamon trainer, and Luis is playing with his 5e group and is an Eldamon trainer, and they were just rivals and being like, no, my Eldamon are better than yours. They could both go to the card game as an intermediary and then duel each other and figure out once and for all whether the 5e trainer, the 5e team that Luis brought or the PF2 team that Vanessa brought would win. And since they've converted to cards, it's like a lingua franca for it.
As you can see, this is why I had to bring Mark on board, because it's one of these that's very complex to design, but it's going to be very
hard for
us.
Use.
It's hard for us.
It's easy for you.
It's going to be robust. Very, very easy for you. It's going to be very robust, very, very robust, very bulletproof, and it will be, it'll work. And I see Kasuni Warlock wanted to know if we have a card. All the art I have, I don't have the cards yet. We have the Elder decks, which I saw you pop up there.
I did flash that real quick. That's as close as I think we've got. That's
as close as we get.
Yeah, that's not one of the cards, but that's an Elder Dex entry.
It's an Elder Dex entry.
Eldamon?
But it might actually be a similar. I kind of like the style we came up with for the Elder decks, so we might have a similar style.
The Eldamon card for the Eldamon that you're putting out might have some of that information, but more on like a card, like maybe playing card size, not like that sort of what do you call that? It's a portrait versus layout view.
It's the Elder decks. The point is that the way it works for card games, and I do have experience with this, just my Magic background. It's like, if you ever seen Magic players, like it's literally just card stuff written on it. Like the design is way done last, because you have it's the design. The function actually makes the design for card games. So we have to actually make sure the game works before we can do the design.
Like
so
I played the Pathfinder adventure card game when they like had made their first things. It was just on a white piece of like a notepad thing that they had printed down like some very simple text on it.
Yeah, because card designs have to have so much information on them there's a science to it. So unfortunately, I could fake it, but I didn't think it was fair, and I didn't want people to get upset. So I'm just being honest. That's like how it works. But
plus, the Elder Dex entry might be like the Eldamon card, but most of the cards you have will be the moves that you're playing.
Right.
But I see people in plushies. So okay, we have so many things to show.
I can show the
plushies
again.
We should tell you that this is a Kickstarter that goes live on July 26th.
Yes, you did mention
we didn't
stretch
actually
goals.
say that at this point.
That you can go to.
I was gonna come back to that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, but
so July 26th, huh?
July 26th, 2 weeks.
Okay,
and,
so you showed us
Kickstarter.rollforcombat.com. Yes. Oh, there we go. Yes.
you showed us a bunch of pictures. There's like 3 books and 5 decks and some dice apparently that are free in the first 48 hours.
Also, one of the 3 books is 13 books.
Yes, it's actually 13 books. So the dice, you don't get the dice in the dice, but that's actually a little deceptive picture because you don't get the dice, but you get the dice
Box.
box, right? So
Oh.
last year we did. It's actually really nice. Last year we did a soft Kickstarter. We did as like a soft container, and then
Okay.
you keep your
Was the
dice
scroll
in
case last
scroll
time?
case, yeah, and then
Yeah.
you unscroll it. This one's a hard case, and it actually has. It's actually nice leather hard case, and it has little foam in there where you can put your dice.
Mm.
So you can keep one set of your special dice, and you know which set that is. And you want to put your best dice in this one, you can put them in there. Or you can actually take the foam out and then you can just put tons of dice in there. So it's up to you. It can go either way. And first 48 hours, if you make a physical purchase, you get it free. And this thing I think is sold like at Gen Con for like $20. So I mean, or something
geez.
similar. Yeah, I mean,
Something
it's
similar.
actually really it's nice. It's real leather. It's real pseudo leather, I guess. I don't know. And then yeah, we have, if you bring back up the graphic,
Yep.
we have the Eldamon book itself, which will have a lot of stuff in it. It has the rules and all the Eldamon. I mean, that's gonna be-
Everything we said, plus the elemental avatar class that we haven't even talked about in this interview.
yeah, which we'll talk about in a little while. Is that we've been
okay.
talking mostly about the Eldamon trainer, almost exclusively in all of these. But now we should probably one day, like today, maybe talk about the elemental avatar, which is also a super cool class because there's two classes, although we talk about
Yeah.
one all the time.
Wiki. So I remember you mentioning before, I think it was at PaizoCon, about how you could also just learn the element powers, like the special powers from the Eldamon, and then use them
Mhm.
yourself. Is that what the
Sort
avatar
of.
is?
That's close.
Okay.
You can't just like go up to a Squirrelash and be like, "Hey, buddy, teach me fire," or like with Chill-Otter with cold. But as I mentioned at the beginning, they're kind of phased out. They like to like go into an object or creature or something like that, and we're gonna have some like rules for if the GM feels like it, and inside of your fire giant is a fire Eldamon. Maybe you can give it one of the Eldamon moves that the Eldamon has because it learned it over time, or maybe since if your sword has a fire Eldamon, it can become a relic with a fire seed if it's just hanging out there. But what if you have an Eldamon that's hanging out inside of you and is kind of tired and it's not going to leave? It's just kind of hanging in there. Well, then you might become an elemental avatar. And that allows you to tap into the power of the Eldamon that's sort of phased into you and it's part of you. And so, whereas an Eldamon trainer is more, like I'm going to use charisma and make all these friends, and I've got all these friends. The elemental avatar has one Eldamon inside, and they might use their wisdom to commune with the Eldamon that is kind of sleeping within them and unlock the power. So they're shooting out cold blasts and doing all of these things themselves because of the Eldamon inside. And of course, if your GM says, look, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not putting any of these monsters in here. I am the monster Grinch. But I do like that there are 10 elements or maybe 20 with the Kickstarter. These seem like cool abilities. Then you could be like, can I play an elemental avatar, but just not say there's an Eldamon that I'm communing with? And they might let you.
Sure. Some sort of
basically-
elemental spirit.
Yeah, the Eldamon lives within you, and then you can use the powers of the Eldamon through you. And
Yes.
that's basically it. And there's lots of different Eldamons and lots of different elements. So, and we have weird ones like yes, we have fire and ice, but we have
Time.
in theory, time, death, music, depending on stretch goals.
We'll have
Space.
death no matter what, I think.
Yeah. Music is or metal. Metal's actually the one. That's
Music,
very
metal,
branded.
and time are all ones that we need to have a stretch goal for.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's so you can be channeling music elemental power through you.
Such like as metal.
As
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah, you basically would do the air guitar, except it would make a real guitar because of the music Eldamon
Perfect.
within you.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're trying to cover both bases though. Like if you want to have the power of Eldamon but not have cute Eldamon in your game, you're like, fine, GM, I'm gonna have the Eldamon inside me, and I know I have a cute little Eldamon sitting inside me all this time, and you'll never
everyone's
have
like,
to see it.
you need therapy, and you're like, no, really, I am possessed by an elemental creature.
I am. You see,
Like,
There's
look,
an otter inside of me. Or look, there's a
have-
snake in Steven's shirt again.
That does
What?
How
sound
did it
odd.
get in there?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm the snake. Oh. So yes, and that's the other thing. This time, who doesn't like plushies? I mean, one of the main aspects of this
so cute.
was to make this friendly for kids and parents and adults, because I know a big segment is parents and fathers who want to get. It's funny. One of the best-selling games is My Little Pony. And they're like, what? Why is My Little Pony so popular? It's because fathers like to buy it so they can have their daughters get into role playing. And it's a big segment. It's bigger than you think. So one of our big aspects was to make this very family friendly and make it so that you can play with this with your kids. And because these Eldamon are in anything, you can just literally run a game of social encounters and still have Eldamon show up, and you can recruit them. You don't need to even fight. And then when the Eldamon fight with each other, or battle, should I say, they play. It's like play fighting, like dogs do. So they don't hurt each other. And yes, there's a winner and a loser, but as the GM, you can describe it as maybe dogs like, oh, the dog gives up or the Eldamon gives up, and that's it. And then
They're
pop
kind
right
of
back
drained
up.
of energy because they lost,
all.
and that's how you determine they lost. They kind of like stand down. They're
Mhm.
unable to continue fighting, and then before
That's all.
long, in a few minutes, they're fine.
But yes,
If
I
you
have
phase
this
them
one.
into the world, that's a different story. But in most Eldamon battles, what they would do in nature, or if you weren't an Eldamon trainer, it's like just a fun thing they like to do.
So I have the snack, which everyone has
Yes,
seen.
its name is Lotus Snack.
Whoops,
Lotus
I bumped the
Snack.
mic. I have
Lotus Snack.
these are not
SNEK.
final, by the way. I actually got word from, they actually sent me second prototypes. They look
Oh,
even
really?
better. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And they look way better. And I'll show
Oh,
you
do
in a
you have
second.
that second
No, I don't.
prototype?
I
Or
just
they're on the
no.
way. Okay.
I just got a picture from the
Nice,
manufacturers.
nice.
And this is
Even I haven't seen the
honor.
second prototype.
No, you have not. But then here, this one's brand new.
Okay.
I've not shown this one, only in pictures, but this is
Who's that Eldamon? It's Terrapoof.
Terrapoof. Look at him. Look how big he is. And he's fluffy. Look how fluffy he is. He's so soft. Ooh. And so, like, for example, they made a mistake. Like these, they said they're horns. These are actually ears. So they did a new one where these actually are supposed to be their ears. So the new version will have the actual ears. But this is at one of these are at the top tiers, but they're very reasonably priced. And I'm even making it so that you can pick which ones you want, sort of. We're
Oh,
doing them in sets.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so-
That's
then-
good. That'll make it easier to add more to the Kickstarter.
And then the cat,
yes.
the Earth Cat, which everyone loves, especially Vanessa.
Yes.
Like the new one, like they weren't supposed to have gray, so the new one actually has brown. He looks way better, so he actually matches his body,
Okay.
and you can see like the gems. And this,
Show
although
the
this,
side. Show his tail. It's
I
got like
know.
gems and
Ah,
crystals. It's
yeah, the
neat.
crystals all over.
It's funny
it.
because it looks kind of tough, but it's extremely soft. In fact, that's what I said. I'm like, oh my god, but it's like, oh wait, it's super. It's super.
Because
soft.
they're so good at getting the patterning to
Super
make you
soft.
think it's made of earth.
Well, that's what I
Even though
thought.
it's
When I saw
right.
it, I was like, oh, that doesn't look so great, in the sense that I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, oh, it's so soft. And then it's actually his eyes. Actually, this is stitched, and then even little things. But these are like, the details are incredible. As again, I'm using the same one who did Gallant Goblin and Tentacle Kitty. So they know what they're doing. And you've seen the Gallant Goblin one.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
those kobolds are
Mhm.
great.
They're really good quality. So
Mhm.
the quality of these is really good. And again, the point of these is, if you have kids, I mean, who wouldn't want to like befriend this one, and then bring him on, and then have him at the table, and then it's like, and then I'm sure there's some adults,
adorable.
Vanessa, who wouldn't mind to
Well,
have some of these.
Maybe.
Or Mark, who's sitting next to how many plushies right now?
Let's see. I've got a bunch of Linda's plushies over here. There's this fungus leshy and this other leshy, and I've got a bat, and I've got a snake. So
And they're pretty big.
but-
This is the
That's
this
the
is
squirrel.
fire
Squirrelash.
squirrelish. This guy, he's changing a little, trying to redo his hands. These supposed to be brown.
Mm.
So we're redoing them to be brown, but they got the tail. I mean, look at that tail.
Yeah, the tail's
Great
definitely
tail.
got the blue stripe
Yeah.
on it too.
And it's got, because it's supposed to be actual fire. And then if you want, you could snip. This is connected, but you could snip it off if you really wanted to. But you
Oh.
can see It's like, and the quality is like really good.
Oh, and
So-
it's sitting up now. Is that a newer one? Because wasn't it like
oh
on
yeah,
all
the other one.
fours?
Yeah. This
Wasn't
is
it
the
on
new
all
one.
fours originally?
Yes, that's the old one. This is the new one. This is the
So
one.
this
that
is
just out.
actually a second generation
This
Squirrel
is second
Ash.
generation. I'm going to get a third one pretty soon.
So
And I have a few more, but you can keep going, Vanessa.
I do want to address a couple questions from chat. First of all, Bacon Golem says that they will only buy gold foil Eldamon cards. Are you going to have a special hologram and gold foil
So
cards?
it's not
Maybe.
like a collectible chase situation where you
Sure.
have to buy packs. Like we want to give you all the thrill and excitement of being able to collect things in game with none of like the like kind of I won't say like evil but manipulative sort of like marketing thing to try to addict people into buying lots of collectible stuff. So if you buy like the Fire and Ice deck, it has all of the Fire and Ice Eldamon and all of the moves that you need, and then you just get it. So you get everything you need, and therefore it's pretty like we're not gonna randomly give some of them as foil. Like
Right.
now
Okay.
we might wind up with special promo cards based on stretch goals, and
That'd be
I don't
cool.
know what I don't know what's going to go on with that, so I'm not going to say for sure that they won't look different than the regular ones.
Yeah, we
but
if anything, we might do kind of what Magic does, where you can have promo cards, which is the same card but with different art or alternative art.
Oh,
So
that'd be
because
cool.
these are not because it's non-collectible,
Right.
we will make collectible aspects, but it won't affect the gameplay in any
Got
way.
it.
It'll just affect, it's like the same way you can have a foil deck. It's exactly the same as a non-foil deck.
Got
Or
it.
especially now they're doing alternate art cards. We can do the same thing.
right, and we can put out more moves and things like that, but if so, you don't have to buy them randomized. You'll
Yeah.
just be able to get them from us.
And one deck, I mean, we have a season and it's 5 decks. And right now the way the Kickstarter works is you get all 5. So you get the full season. But one
Oh.
deck is enough for 2 people to play because it
Oh, wow.
has 2 elements in it, and it'll
Okay.
have 9 to 12 Eldamon in it. So even if 2 people wanted to play, I don't know if it'll work if 2 people want to play the same
if
type.
you want to play the same element, it's going to be
It's a
rough.
little tricky.
It's going to be rough, and you may have like an argument about
Yeah.
one particular move is that you both want.
But if you did
Right.
Fire
Due
and
to the-
Ice,
due to
one
the
person could play
existence-
fire and one person could
Okay.
play ice. But the Eldamons can change.
And there
Okay.
are enough fire moves, especially with the existence of universal moves, that you could both play fire if you absolutely had to. You just might be like, no, I want fire whip, or no, I want fire whip, and then you
You just
don't
have to
2
shuffle
copies.
and distribute
Yeah.
Decide which or draft.
or
you
draft.
could
Yeah,
do you
or
could do
draft.
like a snake draft for your moves if you had
And
to play
the-
off the same deck. And
Yeah, the
do
game
the
is
same
going to be
element.
complex enough that you can play it quickly, which would be like one-on-one, just like I play and you play, and that's it. Or you can do draft, or you can even do what I would call tournament play, which is you have 3 Eldamon and you literally go one after another until
they're
win.
gone. Kind of
Till
like
they're
a
gone.
traditional Pokemon where you'd put one out and then the next one comes in.
Mhm.
And you could, even though there's only 1 copy of each move, like if you're like, no, I am Misty, the water Eldamon person, you could have 3 water Eldamon, because since you're not putting out your own at the same time as each other, you can grab it. Once your first water Eldamon is defeated, you can grab any moves that would have been in the second one and then put them in there, and it won't be a problem. The only problem is if you and your opponent both want to play off of only purchasing 1 deck between you, like the Griea from Greek mythology, and you're like sharing it all, then you could run into an
Sure.
issue.
You're talking about different
questions.
modes of play, and Katsuni Warlock in chat said, I love games where you try to gauge your opponent and then take turns setting and flipping cards one at a time, like Starstone the Ascension. Do you think there'll be one of those where you put like 3 cards down and then you flip, like, these are my 3 moves in order,
Yeah.
and then you flip them over one at a time?
Right now we're doing it one at a time, but
Okay.
we also haven't completely finished, and we
Yeah.
have some pretty hardcore play testers. So
Cool.
we'll see. But even though they're one at a time, they're fast. So you do that one, you figure it out, you play the next one, you figure it out. So you'll get through them.
Okay.
I'm sure there will be lots of variations. Again, it's one of these, the game is in its current state fairly robust but simple, and
Yeah.
allows lots of different ways of play.
It's easy to mod. Like, for example, I'm already thinking that because like elemental weaknesses and resistances, like as you may know from if you've played Pokemon and all, it's super unfair. Like if you're like, yeah, we'll play 1-on-1 and I'm playing water and you're playing fire, it's just like, well, we know who won.
Right.
You know, it doesn't even matter. So I'm assuming, and I'm gonna put in there for the card game, there's the mode you can play where you just ignore the weaknesses and resistances so that you can enjoy the different play styles of each element and be like, well, you know, water's play style against fire is pretty interesting, other than the fact that it automatically wins because it does a little bit of extra, I mean, not auto, you know, but it does a little bit of extra damage and takes less damage, and so it's pretty much going to win no matter what you do. So it'd be like, what would happen if we turned off the affinities? So we're already thinking of variants and ways that people, if I were going to do like a tournament style of this hypothetical uncompleted card game, I would do it without the resistances and weaknesses because I feel it's more strategic. But they're also fun to be like, haha, my water destroyed your fire.
A couple other questions from chat I don't want to miss. A couple from number 18. First, they ask, what will happen to all of the prototypes of the plushies? Can we ask for donations for charity cons?
Sure. I mean, I got to get it done right now, but eventually, yeah, sure. Right now, I need them.
Right.
I need them for streams and other things, but eventually, yeah, I have no problem with that. Oh, there goes the camera.
And then you'll have like a piece of history because just like how Steven has one of like the Ghostbusters insignias that his brother got from being in the costume of Ghostbusters.
That's cool.
Well, and your brother's the costume designer. It helps.
Helps. Another question from number 18. So how much do I need to save for one of everything in every tier?
So I'm still working on the finalization, but I will tell you right now, there is the very, very top tier is literally everything. The one right below it is no hardcover books. It's just PDFs of the books.
Sure.
But I can't, there's no PDFs for the card game. There's no PDFs for the plushies. There's no PDFs for dice or the Eldadex books. So it'll basically be anything that can be a PDF will be a PDF and everything else will be physical. And you won't get quite as many. There are going to be choices as to like what minis or plushies you want. And then the very top tier will just be,
so Steven,
it's literally called everything.
To clarify, the one that you're talking about is the second tier has all of the accessories, but it does not have physical versions of the books.
It has
that is the only difference.
Most of the accessories. It does not have all.
Okay.
It does not
it
have
has
all.
nearly all of the accessories.
It has, for example, what we're going to probably do for the minis, there's going to be 2 sets, and then you can choose which set you want. If you get the top tier, you get both sets.
Have you decided on the price for that top tier yet? So people can start saving?
It's going to be, I'll put it this way, it's going to be reasonable for what it is. And I looked at the savings. I mean, the savings alone was like, it was like double what the tier cost.
It's a lot. Also, doesn't the top tier get special editions of the hardcovers?
Oh yeah, the top tier also gets signed special editions.
Signed special editions, which I didn't even know that when I first looked at the cost of it and thought it was a good deal. But like Steven is making sure that the top tier is a pretty darn good deal. Yeah, like without realizing that it upgraded the hardcovers into special editions, like kind of secretly behind my back. I just looked at it and said the difference between the tier where you only buy the hardcovers and the tier where you get everything is like the amount of plushies you get alone. Like, because I know Linda has backed plushie Kickstarters. I know about how much those cost. The plushies you get alone probably pretty much pays for the difference between those tiers. And that doesn't account the fact that you upgraded to special editions, got dice, got miniatures, got like several other things, got the entire card game, which was not in the one that's just hardcovers. And I mean, I'm trying to keep it's a really good deal because you know, Steven wants you to get everything. So he made it a really good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm making a good deal. Also, I'm trying to give things like I'm not going to name names, but I just got a Kickstarter from last year. I got a couple in. And it's funny, I was like, what did I pay for this? And some of these were pretty expensive. And I looked at them and I was like, yeah, this is okay. But like, how many how many DM screens do you need, man? Like, I just don't need that many. You know, how many, like, I just don't need this stuff. There's a lot of
but
this stuff I think
if you
they
get
include.
enough, you can have a feature wall in your office that's just GM screens.
You're completely right. But the point is that,
Whereas dice and minis, you can use them.
well, right. This is the thing that we do. I mean, first of all, we're trying to do things that no one else is doing. Like with all of our books, we try not to. I mean, yes, it's a monster book is a monster book, but it's a monster book made by people from RPG Superstar, so it's different. But like the plushies, they have multiple uses. Like, they're like, oh, they're just plushies. Yeah, they are plushies, but they're plushies for the game, which you can then use in a role playing aspect, which a lot of people like to do.
They're close to the size of the actual pet form of
Exactly.
the Eldamon. They're about like the real Eldamon pets are like 1.5 times bigger.
This is about the same. This is about the right
and the
size.
Terrapoof may actually be the right size.
This is the size. This is the size of the
No, I
like,
know that
most
this
of
is
these
like the otter we measured and was about
Yeah.
1.5 times smaller.
These
but
are the
some
right
of them,
sizes.
some of them are close
Yeah.
to the right size. And when it comes to
Not
the
the right weight.
miniatures, if you are normally if you're getting a PC focused miniature, that's going to be your character for one campaign. It's definitely worth it for people who like minis. But with Eldamon, if you play more than one Eldamon trainer, you will be able to use like, you know, your Blizz Otter miniature more than one campaign. So it'll be
And you can
useful
use
multiple times.
And you can use them because we made them battle form. So everyone gets battle form. Even if you're not a trainer, everyone can collect and befriend Eldamon in their pet form and battle form. So when you want to battle, you can be like, aha, I bring out my battle form. Aha, I bring out my battle form. Like, these are the pet forms. And so all the minis
They can
are
do the
battle
play
forms.
battle
Right.
together. The one where they just kind of get tired and they don't really get hurt,
Right.
even without the class. That's
Mhm.
sort of how we distinguish it. If you
And
just
they're
want
actually
to
the right
have
size
fun,
too. So if you want to put them on a battle map, they're the
Right.
correct size.
they're medium, which the
Mhm.
battle forms normally are. And so, like, if you just want to have fun, collect, see if you get all the Eldamon, you're barbarian or wizard or whatever, you can do that.
And
You're
then
not going to
the
be bringing them out in battle and
Yeah.
like killing dragons with it because you didn't take the class. And if you do want to do that and be a barbarian, well, you can take the multi-class archetype, just
Yeah.
like everyone else.
dice are dice, because everyone asked they wanted dice, so we're like, fine. So I'll give you dice. Like, a lot of people wanted it, so I'll give you dice. And then the Eldadex, actually, the Eldadex is really cool. They're hard leather embossed with gems in them, and they're
Are they
really
real gems or are they
they're
like kind of
notebooks,
faux gems?
but they're cool notebooks. They're very cool notebooks that you can use to keep track of your Eldamon or your campaign or school or anything.
Yeah, these things looked beautiful. You showed us a picture. I'm putting it on the
Yeah.
screen for our live Twitch audience. Are those going to be like full metal embossed the way they look, or the plastic
leather.
bindings? It's leather.
It's leather.
It's like painted
hard
leather?
It's hard leather painted.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's
That is
hard
super
leather,
cool.
and there's
It's
gems.
meant to be a prop so that you can feel like your actual
Yeah.
character
Mhm.
who's taking notes, because in world people are trying to figure out more about Eldamon. With Pokemon,
Mhm.
you know, you find one and you beat the kind of like the stuffing out of it and then throw a ball.
Mhm.
And that's how you do it every time. But with Eldamon, depending on how you want to play it in the setting, and we'll talk about multiple ways that you can toggle this. If you're in a setting where everybody's seen them before and it's all documented and everyone has the Eldadex pretty much set, then maybe everyone knows a lot. But if you're playing in a setting where like they've just appeared and everyone's like, what's going on? Then you're going to need to be writing things down, because if you don't know what the Eldamon are like and how to befriend them,
Sure.
you won't be able to. Because you don't just befriend them by attacking them, you befriend them
Mhm.
by understanding their personalities.
And
preferences.
for those of you who want to game the system and think, well, I can just read the manual and I know what it's going to do. Well, we're going to have charts and you're going to roll and you're not going to know exactly what it needs to.
You got to
friend them.
feel it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still figuring this out. But in
Sure.
theory, we're going to have charts and figure it. So it'll always be a little different. So everyone's Eldamon, not everyone will have the same Eldamon. Everyone's Eldamon will be slightly different from each other's.
So I'm
You'll be able
curious.
to customize it.
What
Luis.
is in the book proper? What I mean, we're getting classes, we're getting Eldamon, but you know, how big is this book? What's all in it?
It's going to be
That's
very big. And I'm estimating it because I don't know exactly. And
Sure.
it's going to depend on the stretch goals, because We're going to have at least 160 Eldamon,
Wow.
but we could have as many as 240 if we hit all of the stretch
Wow.
goals. They're going to be
It's
at
a lot.
least
It's a
now.
lot.
When Steven said that he commissioned 30 of them, that's 30 of the 160 or 240 that we'll have at the
Right.
end. Now, each of the three forms is considered a separate Eldamon number. So
Mhm.
Lotus Neck and then Lotus Serpent and then Hydranther, its three forms are all that's three of the 240. But even so the fact that there's 240 Eldamon, right? Like if each one takes a page and we have all the stretch goals, that's 240 pages already. And then 10 elements, but up to 20 if we hit all the stretch goals, and all of those elements will have a variety of moves that you can select between. And so that is going to take a lot of space too. That will take not 240 pages, but still a lot of space. Plus, there's going to be all sorts of like tables and ways to describe like how are Eldamon in your world. Maybe they're invisible to everyone except a few people, and that's why nobody's seen them. Like we want to make sure they have explanations so that it makes sense in your world lore, information about the world of Alucard, and sort of that's the world of like the Battle Zoo setting and how they fit in there. They kind of are considered to be associated with the Eld, which is an old religion that is predates the Balance, which is the main religion.
The
That's
Balance, Vanessa.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Vanessa wrote about something similar to that when she was writing the Balance. She didn't give it a name, and now it has a name in it. It's called the Eld.
Cool.
So yeah, basically it's going to be long. And I suspect that Eldamon will be the longest of the three books. Of three final books. Now, when we said that one of the books is actually 13 books, but that's because it's 12 books that then get combined into one giant book, like Voltron. Or
that's all the ancestries that y'all have been releasing, is that right? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll have dungeons in there, and
we'll have demons, gremlins, intelligent weapons, dungeons expanded, Oni, nymphs. We will have doppelgangers, minotaurs, slimes, and three more that have not been
that's
stated yet.
That's it. Don't say anymore.
Don't say anymore.
Steven's like, cut the mic.
No, he's been pretty good. He doesn't been ordered to. I'm always impressed. So yeah, there's 13
that's the
books.
order we revealed them, and that's how I make sure I don't reveal any that I'm not supposed to.
Yeah. So yeah, someone asked. Noticed that there was going to be 13 books for your monsters. So that book you see up there, that's the compilation book.
Got it.
That's the Megazord. If each of them is the separate Zords.
Right. So yeah, every month throughout 2023, we are going to release a new ancestry or race for 5e. And the ancestry will be one of those. We haven't figured out the order. And it will be at least 10 pages. It'll be big ancestries, a mega ancestry, if you will.
Because Paizo does 4 to 6 with the new ancestry. In one case, due to like shenanigans that I pulled while working on Guns and Gears, I managed to get Luis's automaton ancestry to have 8 pages.
Ooh. Shenanigans.
Yes, but that was the only time that any ancestry has been given more than 6 in its debut. Mostly because you can't fit enough ancestries into a Lost Omens Ancestries guide when you use my plan to give them all 8 pages. So with Battle Zoo, we're going to give them all at least 10. And we have stretch goals to expand some of them. But we're not going to expand them right away when we give them to you once each month, because we want to make this sort of an experience that everybody's involved in. So if you're part of the sort of the once a month club that's just getting new ancestries on Foundry and PDF every month, then you tell us what you think you want those extra pages that were earned by the stretch goals to be, and what's missing, what extra things would be cool. And then we will put that in based on feedback from people who have already seen the first part of it. And then all of that will be in that final giant book. So it's going to be, my estimates are that if all stretch goals are hit, the final giant book will could be almost twice as long as the originals, but it might not really be. It depends a lot on the art and the layout. If the originals are longer than I think, then it won't be, because I know roughly how much could be added to it, and it's quite a lot.
Yeah, and so that will work. Is that starting in 2023 in January, every month you'll get a new PDF. There's also a
And
Foundry
Foundry.
module. You get it automatically. So
Wow.
by pledging the tier, you'll get a Foundry module for 5e or Pathfinder.
It is a
And-
deluxe module that would normally cost money, but
Yeah,
you get it
it's-
automatically.
Yeah, you get it. I mean, you have to register it, and then it will automatically update every month with the newest information so that you can
Right.
use
So
it
you
in
don't have
Foundry
to
right
install
away.
12 modules. You just get
It'll
one
have all
and
the
it's going to
art.
update.
It'll have everything in it, so you can build and use it, whether it's
Very
for PC or NPC. And then the end of the year compilation book. And the other thing we're doing, which has actually just been added, is that we will have a private monthly chat between anyone who is part of the Ancestry group and myself.
That'll be part
and
of how
Mark.
you help us
Right.
figure out if that one has an expansion.
Mhm.
Also, even if it doesn't have an expansion, if you have like errata or changes before we go to the final one that's going to get printed, we're going to do it, because I love
Mhm.
having my special first edition printing of everything, but I also wanted to have no errors. And I know a lot of other people are like me. And so that's why Battle Zoo always puts out the PDF first, and then we're going, we're going to fix stuff. But you know what, though,
Just
Steven?
crowdsource that editing.
Steven,
Yeah.
I was good. I only mentioned 9 ancestries. I didn't mention ones that no one's ever seen before, but we are going to reveal one tomorrow in the newsletter. And these people are here watching No Direction. Couldn't I tell them the one that's for tomorrow, at least? It's only spoiling
Sure.
it by
I
one
don't even know
day.
which one it is.
Okay,
Sure.
it is. It
It's a
is
surprise for me too.
I told Steven when we started and he was looking at different ones, I was like, of these, I think that of these ones we're doing, I think there's only one that maybe Paizo will do someday.
Oh, I know which
And
one this is.
this is the one. It's Sthenos.
It's whose?
Sthenos. Those are a Medusa-like ancestry that recently came into existence in the world. So they have a story of just like within the past century, that was when they first came into being. So the oldest Sthenos out there some of them may still be alive from that first generation where 100 of them were created. And they can have families with humans, which helps them not run into a problem with only having 100 people in their first generation. But it gives them an interesting story about their culture because they're trying to figure out what it is. And that is an ancestry that exists in Bestiary 3.
Mhm.
Whereas like Gremlins and some of those other ones we're doing have been all the way since Bestiary 1. But Sthenos were first seen in Bestiary 3. And as of yet, they are not a Paizo ancestry. I figured they might be someday, whereas like a slime.
Well, if anyone's gonna
slime or an intelligent weapon probably isn't going
no,
to
but
be
if
one
it,
in Paizo.
it would be Luis who's the one who approves it. So Luis did. I hope
I
that
don't have
smile-
that kind of say. at
Oh, okay.
Paizo.
Okay. Well, it's like hopefully that smile isn't like, oh crap, we're already working.
No,
on it.
I'm smiling because I recognize the name. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
I know
okay.
these.
Yeah,
I just
because
gave some
Vanessa
art
was like, "What's
actually
that?"
to
And Luis is
Vanessa.
like, "I know what that is."
Yeah, someone slid this over to me, so you can take a look at her. Full on awesome looking toga, snakes for hair, really cool looking staff. Those look like
Mhm.
fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, their snakes are kind of fun because they sort of do their own thing, but they're kind of influenced by the emotions that the Sthenos feeling. So if the Sthenos getting angry, they'll like go up and hiss. And what the only
It's like
mechanics
Monsters, Inc.
that are known about them is that you can see in the bestiary entry, there's a Stheno harpist character who has a thing where like the snakes are like trying to help the harpist to like look out for stuff, but they're also snakes. So they roll like they're in the bestiary entry at least, and we'll see if this becomes an ancestry feat or not. But they look out and roll their own perception check, and it's not as high as the Sthenos perception check. And they may find something different, interesting than the Stheno does. Like, oh, there's a mouse down there in the field. But they will try to help you by rolling their own seek and telling you about what they saw, and hopefully it's something that you care about. And it might be.
Literally have an animal companion,
And it's your hair.
That's your hair.
So that's one of the only things that is known about them from like the Paizo take on it in Bestiary 3 is that they can speak with snakes, and they have the snake search ability that the snakes search also secret a -5, and they'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
I kind
And
of
as you
want
can
the magical hair party where someone's got like white hair that's prehensile, and someone's got snakes for hair, and someone's got fire for hair. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So this is a exclusive reveal for No Direction before the usual time.
That's right.
Yay,
Won't be even
thank
out till
you.
tomorrow.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
So now you know 10. But yeah, and the cool thing with these ancestries, especially because we did this with the dungeon, is like these are just weird ancestries. It's not like, oh, it's another elf, oh, it's another dwarf. Like, ooh, what do you mean I can actually have snakes in my hair do perception checks? Like it just does things that other ancestries just won't do. So every ancestry will be really unique and well, monstrous.
One of them's a slime.
Well,
I know.
One of
slime,
them's an
actually.
intelligent weapon. That's the ancestry.
That's my favorite one. Oh, that's my favorite NPC one. Because again, like I can only imagine like you go to a town and everyone in the town is an intelligent weapon.
But
That's it. The whole town.
I wouldn't want to
I
try
could-
to find
I
a
could
good
see
place
that.
for dinner there.
The people that carry the weapons, they have to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Depending on your heritage, you probably need to have the person carrying your weapon eat, unless you're one of those ones that like forms their own body.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So you can have a dungeon who is the form of a dragon who's actually carrying an intelligent weapon. We got to figure out how many ways we can mix and match all the different ancestries, Mark.
Wow.
So I
And
would
they were
say
adopted
that,
by slimes.
As adopted by
and well, the
slimes.
dragon. Let's see. So it depends on what is. Some of these are humanoids, right? So the dragon could have a minotaur or a stheno as its alternate form with change shape, and
There you
then
go.
when the intelligent weapon, will say it's one that manifests its body. When it needs to go incognito, it just has the dragon carrying it. It's not going to be able to work at its full potential unless it's using its manifested body. But sometimes you need to sneak around, right? So that's at least 4 in there.
And I have a feeling that someone knows firsthand how much fun these crazy ancestries can be, Vanessa, as I know someone who's playing a dragon who seems to be having the time of her life.
Yeah, being a dragon is super cool.
I told you, I know you didn't want to be it at first, but then you're like,
oh, I
now-
never knew that you like pressured her into it, Stephen. I
No,
thought she
it
wanted to
wasn't-
be a
really.
dragon.
It wasn't that. I
Wasn't
was
a
just
pressure.
exploring options, and Steven's like, you could be a dragon, and then I was like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't know the next.
Havoc
A
dragon,
Havoc
my
dragon.
favorite on top
Oh,
of
the
that.
hot
right.
mess of dragons.
The
Yes.
hot mess.
Dragon
It's-
hot mess.
And she is such a hot mess. I do
Oh.
like how Vanessa's playing. It is
It's
like she's just constantly like, oh, I accidentally burned down your house by saving you. I'm
Yeah.
like, I save you by burning down your house. Like it's
Well,
just
I haven't burned down anyone's house, but I did knock their front door in,
not
which was pretty
on
good.
camera. Oh, that was fun.
She's
Yeah,
an
you're
inventor,
like, I'm
right?
coming to save you, and you smash their front door.
Why are
I'm
you
like, what
stuck in the
you
house? Hold on,
doing?
let me just bash
What
the
are
door
you-
down so you can get out because it's obviously stuck, or you would have run away by now. Hold on.
They got very angry at you.
I
We
mean,
were
inven-
barricaded in
inventors-
here.
Inventors cause
broke our
collateral
house.
damage.
How dare
sometimes.
you? But I haven't heard anyone. I want to know if anyone's been playing the dungeon ancestry yet.
A lot of people have said they were in Reddit.
yeah.
Like Cheese of Ages was.
I know. It's like that's the one I want to try out.
All right.
Too many ancestries.
Okay.
Fear of ancestries.
I
Yes,
don't
what
want to
else?
necessarily go back to the beginning of our conversation, but Stephen, you had mentioned at one point, we had talked a little bit about this avatar of like, you can take an Eldamon inside of your
Mhm.
character and they can kind of just hang out there and bestow upon you elemental powers. Now, since Mark is here with us, original author of the Paizo release Kineticist, and I am here, primary
Oh,
author
boy.
of the legendary Kineticist, you can imagine how excited I am about another elemental class out there. Can you please do me the favor? And I know that it's been an hour and we should let you go, but I'm not
No,
gonna.
no, we'll go for
it
an
said
hour.
it
Have you
was-
been on our
But
show?
Yes.
An hour. We're
preview-
just getting warmed up.
the preview of the show that I looked at had a 2-hour slot, so that's what I budgeted.
Okay.
So whatever you need.
So tell us more about this avatar. How do they play How do the powers manifest? Do you just get like cool feats and move on, or what? How does that work?
So it's actually, as you might have predicted when you said that, as someone who made a PF2 kineticist, you're interested in seeing other elemental things. It's actually completely different from kineticist in a way that sort of complements it, so that you could have a party with a kineticist and an elemental avatar and a
elemental sorcerer or something?
Or like an elementalist archetype from Secrets of Magic. Sure. And maybe an Eldamon trainer as your fourth one, and they're all going to do different things. So let me tell you a little bit about it and why it's kind of different than all of those other ones, right? Oh. So the first thing that you're going to do when it comes to being an elemental avatar is embody. That's sort of, at some point in time, an Eldamon decided to come and be within you, and you've become an avatar of them. Like, it's not just using the word avatar, you are like embodying that Eldamon.
Oh, that's exclusive art.
Whoa, you're showing them the embody art? Nobody's seen that before.
No one's seen it
It actually has an Eldamon that no one's seen, because we don't have
it. That's the rare Eldamon.
Wow. Okay. So the second step is attune. Cool. So when you're attuning, you're attuning yourself to the Eldamon and the element, because it's staying around in you for a while, and you unlock greater potential. It often requires meditating to get in touch with your inner self. And that's sort of the next thing you do. Then you manifest. You manifest the elemental powers of the Eldamon that is within you. And so in that case, that's you're using those elemental abilities yourself, and you're manifesting them out. And then we have something called Transcend, where your increased attunement reaches the point that you actually transcend the limits of the Eldamon entirely, because there's a limit to what it can do on its own. And at this point, you may have gained abilities that are like deeper into that element through the symbiosis between yourself and the Eldamon, or even found a way to like express certain aspects of a second element with your element. So like, let's imagine you were cold, because we clearly saw in that art that we are cold.
Yes.
So what if I got so deep into transcending cold that I was able to infuse certain time abilities in it, because I was so cold that I froze your time and slowed you down.
You could freeze things in the fourth dimension? That is powerful. It actually
affected time in that area, right? So you can imagine certain combinations like that, and only the elemental avatar can do that. Now, in exchange, like the Eldamon trainer can have like a boatload of Eldamon that they can throw a different one out. Whereas like, if you're the cold elemental avatar, you're the cold elemental avatar. You're not gonna be like, that wolf thing, you're gone. Squirrel, let's get in there. That's not how it works.
Sure.
So in terms of playstyle, another thing that makes it pretty different from, it's already different from like an elementalist elemental sorcerer, because it's not going to use spell slots. It's going to use like the special abilities from Eldamon. And it would be different than like the legendary kineticist, because of the fact that like kineticist very much has like the 11 from Stranger Things vibe of like, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and this time my nose is going to bleed, and I'm going to do it real
really
big,
hard to do it.
Real big. And so elemental avatar is kind of almost as far as you can possibly be from that, while also being like not slotted and not even waiting as long as a focus spell for things. So it's more rotational. You're not going to repeat like a kineticist can. In fact, you're going to have to cycle through some of your different abilities in an interesting way that's not quite like any of the classes are. So I would say that it plays the least similarly to a kineticist, due to the fact that you have to cycle, and at least with the elemental sorcerer, I mean, they might spam, right? I don't know, but they probably will have a variety of different spells that they cast on different turns, and that's what you're going to see with an elemental avatar.
So by the way, that's not the fox, that's a wolf. That's an ice wolf.
Yes, it is a wolf. That's what I was mentioning before.
The fox is a common.
The fox there's a common force Eldamon. There's a fox that lives in like a cauldron, and It's pretty cool.
Pretty weird.
The wolf is actually a really rare one because the elemental avatar happened to come in touch with an extremely rare Eldamon.
Mm-hmm. And the artist is Miguel Harkness, who does a ton of work for Paizo.
For the elemental avatar
for the elemental
pictures
and,
there, most of the Eldamon you've seen are Firat Solhan.
Right. Well, he also did the steps for the trainers as well for the elemental.
Miguel did, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a combination. There's actually multiple artists for this, but in fact, he did. If anyone did Three Ring Adventure, it's not the real word for it. Extinction Curse. It's like I can't think of the real name. He did most of the artwork for that book, and that's the same artist. So
Kitsune Warlock says it sounds a little more similar to Solarian than it does some of the other things. It's probably a little closer to Solarian than
yeah, I guess in some ways.
In some ways, it's not completely, but I would say it's certainly closer to Solarian than it is to a kineticist, due to cycling around and using different stuff.
Yeah, sounds like very cool.
Plus, you have an Eldamon in you, so who knows?
Well, I'm looking forward to playing it. So, Steven, when this comes out and is ready for play, plan on my actual play character dying again, and then I'll just
I'll just fine.
Make an elemental avatar.
That's fine. I don't know. At this fight you're in right now, you might all be dying. It's pretty bad. Oh gosh, it's really bad. I don't even know what we're gonna do.
Is that just like KFAB, Steven, or you actually think that you're going to defeat them?
Everyone has been mind controlled, including the fighters.
That's terrible.
We're fine.
They're confused, so I have a feeling they might be killing each other very quickly in this.
No, we're okay.
I don't know.
Okay, I think this is KFAB from Steven again.
I'm actually.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I know that's a thing, though, right?
TPK.
Yeah,
no, like KFAB is the thing where you like mock up and pretend that you're doing this big confrontation with other people when it's mostly staged and you're not going to kill them.
This is real. We actually finished halfway through the fight, and everyone got mind controlled, and they were killing each other. And the bad guys were just sitting there like, "Yay!" They're just clapping.
We're fine.
Bad guys, nothing's happening to them because everyone's getting confused turn after turn.
This is what happens when you make an entire party with bad will saves, but it's fine.
That's true. Actually, everyone in the party is a bad will save, and on top of that, it's in a weird space, and it has the ability to do what is it? It's that
Steven, you're getting off topic again.
I'm off topic. Okay. Anyhow, back to Eldamon and avatars and Battles You Bestiary and Luis Loza.
We do have a question from audience I want an answer to personally. You had been talking a lot about the card games, and those sound awesome. And Smart Goblin asks, will there be demos at Gen Con?
No.
Not this Gen Con.
No, not this one.
Okay.
Well, it's not ready yet. I mean, because the game is based off of the base game we can play test and get ready, but the actual abilities are going to be based off the abilities from the Eldamons,
and they're not done. So I made up like FACO abilities that are like highly speculative, and there were exactly enough to play a fire Eldamon, a mind Eldamon, an ice Eldamon, and an earth Eldamon. And then I played them against Linda, and it works pretty well considering that I made it so speculatively. But we absolutely, like Steven said, we need them to be the same moves from the actual game. And just because I decided that a card said like Mental Palace or like Glacier Wall or something like that doesn't mean that we actually are going to have a Mental Palace and a Glacier Wall. So we're going to have to figure out what it really is.
So the process is to design the game and work on the game, then work on the Eldamon, and then work on the powers for the card game, and then balance that. So
that's right.
Now we're in the beginning steps, and we have some pretty good. I mean, the people I have testing it are hardcore Magic player, like super hardcore, like the hardest of hardcore. So I'm pretty sure they're going to put this through its paces to make sure it's pretty well balanced. So,
Anything else you want to tell us? Just a reminder, it's going to be on Kickstarter July 26th, which is in 15 whole days. And
I will tell you one more thing.
Yes.
Sure.
So we talk about Eldamon a lot because it's the thing that some people are most excited about. We talk about Year of Monsters a lot because it's the thing that other people are most excited about, and we always miss out on talking about Strange and Unusual. So that'll be the one more thing, which is so Battles of Bestiary Strange and Unusual. Like Steven said, it's award-winning RPG superstar entrants. They are even stranger and more unusual. It is judged by strange and unusual judges, such as the 4 people who are all on the show right now.
That's kind of weird.
We're all judges. And not only does it have over 150 really unusual creatures, and if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you can even see some of the iconics being like, what are these monsters? Like they just have these entries where Zara, the monster mage, is like, what am I seeing? And but it'll also have like more imbued properties and stuff for the monster part system, because a lot of people said we like it, but like, could there be more? And there can, and there will. But also, Steven, is it okay if I spoil the name of the other archetype? Or should we save that for people to figure out?
No,
we were going to kind of hide it in the next newsletter.
Spoilers.
Okay, so there will be a little bit more hidden in the next newsletter, but I will just say the name of it is Aberrant Soul. Ooh. And our newsletters about Battles of Bestiary have mostly been Zara, the monster mage, writing journals, and then sometimes forcing Kruger, the vestige hunter, to write a journal too when she thought that he messed up. And we're going to have the next one is going to be a journal entry from the iconic Baron Soul, who is with the 2 of them. And so you'll get to see a little bit more about that iconic's perspective and like maybe a little bit about what they do, because I'm not going to tell you anything except the name right now. I'm going to. Okay. But I'll say in the story they use one of their special abilities against the monsters, so you'll get a little bit of it.
I should read this.
I know, it's
what it's doing.
Oh yeah, you should, cool. Steven. You better be ready to put it up. Like it's going up tomorrow.
I know. Well, I'll do it after this interview. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, no, it's yet another cool way to use monster parts, because we obviously have the monster mage who can eat monster parts and get their powers.
You don't eat them. They
eat them.
Keep little talisman things of.
They magically eat them. They magically eat them. And then you have the vestige hunter who can eat them and attach them to the body if you wanted to.
Goblin vestige hunter.
You could.
Right. They go at it. You are what you eat.
You literally are what you eat. And then the new one, which will also have weird. How many different ways? How many different ways can we get monsters into you?
7.
That's really what it is. It's like, how many ways can you become part of the monster? And the game's still being balanced. That's the other thing. Because think about how many cool things monsters do, and everyone's like, I want to do that. It's like, all right, here you go. You have to become part monster, but you can do it.
So that was the last thing I wanted to say, so that we didn't leave one of the 3 major prongs of it at such short shrift.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when you have so much, I mean, what is this? Yeah. So it's 17 books, 5 card decks, plushies, dice, Elda decks. Did I miss something? Minis. There's a lot. There's a lot going on.
All right.
Something for everyone.
And that's all on the 26th. And what was the URL for that?
Kickstarter.rollforcombat.com. It's the easiest way.
Kickstarter.rollforcombat.com.
Yeah, right now we'll bring you to a sign-up page.
Okay.
And then when it goes live, it'll just bring you there automatically. And then you will be able to get on it. And then, as I said, what we're doing this time, we kind of do it already on the Discord, but a lot of these have you being part of the community to help. Like, for example, as the Eldadex entries are made and as the Eldamons are being made, you'll be part of that, so you get to see them. So it won't all just be like surprise, so you actually can help out. And the other thing is, as I said, for the Year of Monsters, every month we'll just have a YouTube private chat where it's like myself and Mark and any other developers will go through the ancestries and talk to you and everyone who's either playing them or if they have ideas. Because quite frankly, you say it's crowdsourcing, Vanessa, but I actually think of it more like these are people who are out, who are playing and using them.
Oh, sure.
And they have opinions. And to be honest, that's been our best feedback.
I didn't
And
mean it
because-
in a
Like,
derogatory. I meant
Oh,
it
no,
as in
yeah.
it's a good idea to put it out there and have people be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, I was really hoping to be able to do this," and you're like, "Oh,
Well, think about how many times,
like,
I
because
mean,
I could write it myself and
Yeah.
it would
Sure.
be fine. But if like 3 people are like, oh yeah, we absolutely were missing, and it's some weird thing that I wasn't going to think
like,
of, then
the
it's
dungeon
perfect.
was a good example because Mark had great ideas, but I actually read lit RPG and knew of the
Yeah.
dungeon.
He's the one who
ancestry.
told me to do it,
Right.
and then he linked me to some lit RPGs that I could look at to try to get it set up.
Mhm.
And when we combine that together,
Right.
it worked
So it's
out.
the same thing. So it's like other people will have ideas that we might miss, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a good idea. We should add that, like for an ooze or something, or a slime in this case." We can't think of everything, so there's only 2 of us for this part.
Sure.
So
all
that's
right,
why
very
we
cool.
have the community help out, right? Right, Sitherin? That's his
Adorable."
name. Hi, he's
All
one of
right.
my favorites.
Well,
He can just sit right here. Whoops, as he falls. Oh no.
Well, thank you two very much for coming on and talking about this. This is really exciting. It's going to add a
Mhm.
lot of new options and play styles and things you can do to Pathfinder 2nd Edition and 5th Edition. So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to even just playing the card game just for fun. I think that'll be neat. So
I'm just sad it's killing your dragon, apparently.
Well, that's true.
I have a
Please.
quick question before we let
oh,
you
please,
go.
yes.
Are there the equivalent of legendary Eldamon, like 1 in a million, or like super unique, very powerful?
There are some that are really rare and that you're
Mhm.
very unlikely to come across.
Aha.
There aren't any right now that are completely the equivalent where we're just saying there's only one in existence, but also there are some that are kind of like a little quirky or variant, like Steven said. And so yours, especially if you have one that's already really rare and almost legendary, and then it has a quirk on top of that, it probably is the only one in existence that quite has that much stuff in it. And we're considering putting something in for people who want something that's like the shiny,
I want a
the
super
shiny,
special one.
the shiny one
You
where it could
would.
just be like roll on a D100 and on a
Right.
100 it's a shiny, or like it's
Right,
very
right.
special. And then at that point you can be convinced if it was already rare and you had to roll a 100, it's probably the only one of its kind, or
Yeah.
maybe they're one of 2.
I'll be honest, like during development, if this is something, I mean, if people really, really want this is something I kind of wanted to do anyhow. It's very much like the way Diablo, does loot, how their items are just sort of built on tables. I'm thinking the same thing for Eldamon, is that you're using tables to sort of build them. And if you find it's like if you find a rare one and then there's another sub table and you roll 100, well, you probably are the only one who's going to have that one for a long, long time, if ever. So, it's like 1 out of 10,000. So there you go. So,
Yep.
But even then, the whole point is that by having these tables, because the common ones, I don't want everyone to have the same common Eldamon. I want everyone's Eldamons to be slightly different. And also, if you befriend them, and then you're like, "Ooh, this one's cool, but I kind of want a disability," you can befriend a different one and then try to mix and match abilities or get better or different abilities. So even the
You'll
more
be able to
common ones.
choose a lot of them too, and
Mhm.
that'll help you create the build you want with the Eldamon you have.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
I'm even talking about it could be even non-mechanical things like their
Right.
favorite food
Mhm.
or stuff like that. So things that don't affect actual gameplay, but more
Right.
for role
Sure.
playing. So,
All right.
but yeah,
Awesome.
but
Looking
check
forward
that
to
out.
it.
Mhm.
Yes, we will be hard at work once hopefully the Kickstarter is a big success, and then we can work on Eldamon and monsters
Very
and
cool.
bestiary, and then bug you guys again to judge another one probably.
Oh, probably. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about the cool Eldamon. And until next time, we're going to go and do news and shout outs and such. But, it was great having you, and we'll definitely have you back in the future. Just keep making new incredible books, okay?
That
Until the
seems to
next
be what
one.
we do.
I know. Well, wait until the next one.
Until the next one. All right. Thanks so much, you two. Bye.
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 All right, Luis, it's time for you and I to do Pathfinder News. Pathfinder News. Pathfinder News. Pathfinder News.
Oh, yes. We have some news on all things Pathfinder here. Uh, this time around, we have a couple of not like tremendous, amazing, huge pieces of news, but I still think they're exciting. We have Gen Con coming up in just a few weeks. So I think all the big news from Paizo and third parties are coming very soon, but there's still some exciting stuff that's been announced in the last couple of weeks. The first thing that comes to mind are changes to organized play to Pathfinder Society.
Wait, what are they doing?
They are making some changes to the achievement points.
Yes, I heard about this. I'm very excited.
Yes.
Continue.
So I think they announced this a little while back that everyone is going to be given 80 achievement points just for their account for their profile. At the moment they start with organized play, you'll get 80 achievement points, or if you're already part of organized play and have a number and everything going, you'll get 80 achievement points now. So I think if I looked at my account now, I'd already have those 80 achievement points. But in addition to that, there are a number of changes to the boons, specifically the ancestry boons. They're reducing the price on a couple of different ancestries. So fetchlings
Ooh.
will now go down to 40 achievement points.
Very affordable.
Thanks to some changes in the setting and storyline and stuff going on with ongoing scenarios.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Similarly, hobgoblins are being reduced to 80 achievement points, which is very exciting because I've been wanting to jump into organized play and I wanted a hobgoblin, but I didn't want to I'm very lazy and I didn't want to have to play through a bunch of different adventures to save up the full 120. So now I'll be able to get my hobgoblin character ready to go very quickly. And then also catfolk, just for the heck of it, are also being reduced to 80 achievement points. And this change is happening with the launch of year 4 of Pathfinder Society, July 29th. So just at the end of the month here, you will be able to hop in with your new achievement points and also grab some of these new ancestries as your starting character if you really wanted to.
I'm going to have to play a catfolk at Gen Con, I think. That pretty much settles it.
Mm-hmm. A catfolk what?
Oh, geez. Probably rogue. I don't have a rogue. I love rogues. I main rogues, and catfolk make excellent rogues. So I might just have to go a little stereotypical there. But oh gosh, would that be fun?
Oh, yeah.
Just sneaking around with your claws and be like.
And that'll be pretty exciting. Just making a lot of the ancestries a lot more accessible for people. Or if you want to hold on to your 80 achievement points, you can hoard them for revives or whatever else you want to use your achievement points.
Sure.
There's no specific requirements on what you're spending them. They're just kind of a free little spending money, if you will, walking around town money, right?
Sure.
So that's fun.
What are you going to do with your hobgoblin though?
I'm going to play a swashbuckler.
The fierce swashbuckler that you mentioned.
Yes,
on
intimidation.
Legend Lore.
Yes, exactly. I've been wanting to do that since I built that on Legend Lore, and I've had a rogue. I had a half orc rogue in Society. It's played a couple of adventures, but it's hard for me to sometimes get adventures, get into a scenario, get into a game.
Sure.
Because I made that character just as the pandemic started, so going out to play organized play was much more difficult.
Yes.
But I'm willing to let's play online, let's figure this out for this hobgoblin, because I've been very excited to play this character, and now I can do it without having to
grind for points.
Not grind, I wouldn't say it's grind, because grind to me suggests that I would have no fun playing Pathfinder 2E for
you won't have to wait
levels.
for it.
I won't have to wait for it. I won't have to save up for it. It will be right out of the gate. I can start playing with them. So
good.
That'll be fun. Additionally, we've been told that there are some changes to the various subscriptions available for Pathfinder and Starfinder. The rule sets. So the Paizo Advantage has been changed to requiring which different subscription models or subscriptions you need. So normally you would have 4 different subscriptions minimum to get the the benefits of Paizo Advantage. It gets you a 15% discount on most things on the Paizo store. And they kind of updated that list for you, which now includes some of these new subscription lines like Lost Omens Special Edition subscription. If you've enjoyed the special edition versions of the rule books with their nice faux leather red and golden imprint, there is now a counterpart with Lost Omens, which I think is, I personally like the color a lot more, not just because it's Lost Omens, but it's nice blue with a silver emboss.
That sounds really nice. That reminds me of like the Starfinder Special Edition.
Yeah, it looks very much like the Starfinder Special Edition. So it's a counterpart to that. So that's one of the new lines. You can also subscribe to the new Starfinder Adventure lines if you're looking at these these modules, excuse me.
Modules. It's like their module line. Yeah.
Like the module line. But as a result, there's also some other changes. Some of these existing subscription lines are, they're getting sunsetted. They are the Pathfinder adventure card game at the moment. There's not any plans to continue that based on the blog posts.
Gotcha.
You can, of course, still buy copies of the adventure card game, anything that's still available on the site, and you can always make your own custom cards on the drive-through site. But in addition to that, the Starfinder and Pathfinder pawns are getting sunsetted as well. That is, there's been a lot of pawns over the years, so it says that they're going to keep the core pawns, so the bestiaries and the alien archives respectively for each game, still in stock as long as there's still demand, but there won't be any new ones for the APs or any of the new monster books or anything like that.
Okay.
So if you were looking for more pawns, unfortunately that is at least for now the end of the pawns line. You can always go back and buy the PDFs and print those off yourself if you wanted to, or there's, I'm sure it's still a number of them that are still in stock, but don't expect any new stuff to be coming down the line.
I mean, those are like super useful, but they're also in kind of a niche place, right? Especially because of the pandemic. A lot more people have embraced online play with virtual tabletops, including at the table. I've seen people haul over like at conventions where they haul over a flat screen television and their laptop, and then they just run the whole game off of, some virtual tabletop locally. So we've even seen that. Miniatures, of course. So getting rid of the pawns line, I suppose, makes sense. It's kind of sad because they're kind of cool.
And like I said, the PDFs are always available if you want to do that. And like you said, very niche. Outside of the core bestiaries and the alien archives, I don't know how many people were getting the pawns for the specific APs and things like that. You don't need the AP pawns for Age of Ashes if you're running Strength of Thousands. True, whatever, right? Like, so
those are very specific.
So
like, why do I need this one NPC?
I can see how that came to be, but new subscriptions, old subscriptions going away, but there's always, I'm sure, exciting stuff to be subscribing to. Speaking of exciting subscriptions, the next thing is, if you're an AP subscriber, is the Bloodlords Adventure Path. And wouldn't you know it, the Bloodlords Adventure Path Player's Guide is now available. So that is in anticipation of the AP releasing in just a few weeks.
Does it have that really cool? I see you linking it there in chat. Does it have that really cool table in it? That's like,
it definitely has that table that gives you suggestions, the quick rundown on what to do, what is good or recommended, what's going to show up a lot in terms of different skills checks and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like you'll get a lot of investment in religion, but probably not as much investment in
survival
or something.
Because you're undead. Who cares?
Right? It's true.
You don't need that much food.
Yeah.
So it comes with all the typical stuff you expect, some background information on the adventure path, some suggestions on character information, some new backgrounds specifically for the campaign. There's a map and a gazetteer of the city of Grey Dirge, which lots of basic stuff, all free online for you to check out. And if you're excited to hang out in the nation of Geb and deal with undead, or maybe even play an undead yourself, maybe checking out the player's guide will get you up to speed on some exciting stuff. And an additional thing for Bloodlords is a special bit, there wasn't like a full-on blog announcement or anything, but this was included in the comments for one of the AP volumes from Andrew White, who is one of the members of the tech team at Paizo and is also very much in contact. It's kind of our direct contact between Paizo and the people working on the Foundry modules. That he's officially noted that Bloodlords is coming to Foundry. Just like Outlaws of Alkenstar was, but there was a little bit of a waiting period to see how the Outlaws of Alkenstar Foundry modules were doing to determine whether or not they were pulling the trigger on that. But it is happening. It might not line up with the exact street date of the first release, but I think they're going to try to catch up on that. But it sounds like Foundry modules are doing well enough to continue that down the line with future AP releases, at least for the next 6 months.
I'm really glad to hear that. I did peek at the Outlaws of Alkenstar one, and it's on my to-do list to grab the Abomination Vaults module as well. So I'm really glad that those are doing well. Foundry, it has so much capability, but a lot of it is locked behind figuring out all the different tools. And so the fact that you can...
time.
Yeah, and time.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can get like a module that you can just pay for the module that just has all of the stuff you might have done and like 10 times as much, because they have a bunch of just really amazing special effects. There's one section in one AP, and I won't spoil where, but one of them has like a ghostly figure wandering around, and they've actually animated ghostly footsteps wandering between a couple of these different rooms. And it's just wild to go in there and see that happen. Yeah, you just see these little footsteps on the ground, like that sort of pin to light and then fade away. And it's just so cool.
Wow, that's great. So yeah, more exciting reasons to check out Foundry if you haven't already. To just the amazing support there, both for the system and it's specifically for these adventures. And I know I've seen some people working with that Foundry team kind of asking around, hey, if we did some other adventures or some other APs, which one might you want to see? So maybe there's some interest in trying to backfill the catalog. I don't know the exact nature of things, but I would be excited for them to go back and maybe do some of those older APs and give them the AAA treatment that they've given Outlaws of Alkenstar, and surely we'll give Bloodlords as well.
Awesome.
And I have one last thing that I've tracked down for news, which is an update from the Kingmaker 10th anniversary crowdfunding project, which is update your shipping address. They said that all the Kingmaker products are on their way now to the Paizo warehouse. So that means that here in a few weeks or in a month or two, they will receive those products and they will be shipping them out to all the backers. And they need to make sure they send them to the right place. This project did fund a few years ago, so some of you might not have the most up-to-date address at that point. That when you gave your money and funded and supported it, people move. I know you would have had the wrong address by this point.
Yes, I just moved. Right, I have a beautiful green screen behind me, so you can't tell, but this room is absolutely full of boxes. I don't even have my desk anymore. I have a makeshift desk, but I think I've done an okay. Thank goodness for the green screen to approximate that nothing has changed, except maybe my camera angle.
If you supported Kingmaker and were expecting some products to be physically shipped to you, go update your address.
Yes.
There's instructions on how to do that on the latest update, and I guess look forward to that very soon. And if you didn't fund it or missed that window or whatever, I'm sure they will have a version for you to buy yourself here in a couple weeks or a couple months here as well, for anyone that wants to jump in after the fact.
That's so cool.
It's happening. Kingmaker. So we're having just so many. We will be just have an embarrassment of adventures and APs for 2E by the time Kingmaker's out. There's just going to be so much stuff. I'm excited to see that finally come to life, come to be in my hands. I've seen the final product because I know a few people at Paizo will say,
what?
It's an enormous book and it looks pretty marvelous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's all the news I was able to track down for the last few weeks. Like I said, Gen Con is happening. I think we will have one more episode, and then the episode after that we will be coming back and talking about what just happened at Gen Con. And so it's very soon, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of new exciting stuff to talk about once that happens.
Very cool. I'm looking up, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm currently looking up one of my shout outs that I meant to mention and then close the tab, and I'm trying to find it again.
No worries.
Are you going to be at Gen Con?
I will be at Gen Con. I will be physically there at Gen Con. So
Working
you can come
in
by.
an official capacity?
I will be running delves and working the booths, which I think we have a different booth compared to the years before, because
Interesting.
times have changed, and we will have a smaller crew there. We won't have as many staffers there, so we'll need a different booth, but I think we'll still have
Okay.
a strong presence.
So you don't have the same location, that big like corner spot?
That I don't know. I just know
Okay.
we have a different booth. It might just have a different arrangement. Might be a little smaller and might have more space for tables to run delves and stuff. I don't know the exact nature of what
Okay.
it's going to look like quite yet, because it's the first time we're doing it. But I'll be there and come by, chat, ask questions about products or the game or Lost Omens. I'll probably tell you secrets, and then when you go online and say Luis told me this, I'll be like, I don't know who that person is, and they'll never believe you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Are you
I
gonna
will
be
be there
there?
too.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to, although I don't know that it's confirmed, I'm supposed to be getting a press badge for No Direction to basically go and gather a bunch of news for this show, as
Mhm.
well as chat with folks. I have been experimenting for years on trying to do some sort of edited clips, even if they're audio clips or sound bites of like interviews from the floor. I might try and do that. The mic I have right now is not good for crowded, noisy rooms, but we'll see what we can do. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be there. I'm not sure all of what I'm doing. I'm still trying to plan that out, but I'll be there one way or another.
I, in fact, need to double check if I will be back in time for the next episode after Gen Con.
Oh, okay.
I might be flying back. Yeah, I fly back the 8th, which would be that Monday right after Gen Con, which is when we would be doing another episode. So who knows?
Oh, okay.
We might have to try to get together and do a special live from Gen Con thing like
Oh,
we
yeah.
did with the PaizoCon.
Yeah, we can probably do that again. I think that's probably possible.
Yeah.
Special episode. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. I think that if that's all the news, it's time for wrap ups and shout outs.
Let's do it.
Wrap ups and shout outs. Wrap ups and shout outs. Wrap ups and shout outs.
Am I closing this out? Okay. I'm just double checking. Yeah, I'm still new to this. We're both still new to this, kind of. Hey, thank you for listening to episode 280 of No Direction. Yes.
Gosh, this show's been around forever.
Been around forever. Our Rise of the Eldamon episode. Thanks so much for joining us. Before we go, we have a number of different things that we like to talk about, shout out to. I have one that I saw was really cool.
Yes.
Reddit, there is user Gwen Gunn who took the time to make all of the NPCs from Strength of Thousands as Hero Forge minis that you can go, and if you go to this and pull up a given picture, it has links to each of the minis that you can then, if you wanted to print off a mini for yourself and use that at your table. They have all of those minis available for you to use as you like.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to just make pictures of them with the minis or whatever, it up to you, but they took the time and made a bunch of different minis. It's pretty cool. That was a lot of work, and they all look pretty phenomenal, making the most out of Hero Forge and all that it can do.
Okay, that is super cool.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that might make mine seem less cool, but I'm still happy about it. So, do you remember Sean K. Reynolds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's kind of a big deal, and
Yeah.
wrote a ton of Pathfinder stuff and a ton of original, D&D stuff.
Was a designer for Paizo for a
He
while.
sure was. He sure was. So he wrote a Twitter thread that led to some stuff that I didn't even know existed, which includes a post to an article about Paizo deity article Easter eggs. So he wrote in a bunch of Easter eggs,
I
which
think he wrote like all 20 of the core deity articles from what I know.
yeah, I believe so. And he wrote a bunch of really cool stuff. It's a really fun thread. If you're a Paizo lore junkie like I am, definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
It's on Twitter. And there are links to his blog articles that really have some interesting, meaty stuff. A lot of them are like different like heralds and notable followers of various deities that are sort of modeled after other things in popular culture, in history, kind of all over the place. And really interesting. And I liked it, one, just because of being a lore nerd, and also because I often also try and take inspiration from the world around me in various places in my stuff. Always telling my developers, of course, by the way, this is a reference to, just in case they don't want to put it in, that's fine. But one of them, like, for example, that I put in was a reference to Marlowe, Shakespeare's contemporary, as this like archon or whatever. And so I thought that was cool, but I thought maybe I was like, I don't know, I know people do it, but I was like, maybe I'm not supposed to. But it was really cool to see SKR do the same thing on basically all of the gods articles in Inner Sea Gods way back in the day. So if you're a big lore nerd and want to see that stuff, definitely check out his Twitter article on that. If you are in chat with us, I have posted a link. If not, you can search for Sean K. Reynolds, Sean spelled Sean, Sean K. Reynolds over at Twitter, and look for that status. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. I'm excited to look through it. I'm always, I know I have access to so many people at Paizo, but even like getting a chance to still learn, like, where did this come from? There's occasionally times where I will turn to Eric Mona or whatever, turn to on a chat, right? And ask him, hey, why is this a thing? And then he'll give me the whole rundown. And just kind of knowing the background of it, I think helps so much with helping both maintain the setting, but also like understand like, oh, that's a lot of cool stuff. I didn't know this. Mona has a lot of like things he's read and stuff over the years that he, of course, everyone does this, but bringing a little bit of everything and kind of learning about more sources and cool literature and other cool stuff to draw upon for inspiration is always fun.
Very cool.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was fun. Any other shout outs before we say goodbye to our fantastic audience?
I think I'd only like to shout out the No Direction Network and its Patreon and its amazing Discord and the amazing patrons that we're going to talk to in just a little bit.
That's right. So right after the show, we go onto our Discord and talk to our patrons in the patrons private sanctuary, where they get to determine what the topic of the show is for that evening. And if you think that is super cool and you also want to do that, then you should go to patreon.com/no direction, I believe. Thank you. I am so tired. So go there and become a patron, and then link your Patreon account to your Discord account, and you will automatically be let into the show. And if you're also just looking for a way, like, how do I find the Discord? Well, guess what? You can get it from our website at nodirectionpodcast.com, where not only will you find a very easy to use Discord invitation link, but also tons of blog posts and other materials and commentary and reviews and all sorts of things for your role-playing games. Cool.
Yeah, that's it. I look forward to visiting the Sanctum. I don't have any other more shout outs, so let's get going to that then.
All right, great. And Luis, if you need to find the path, you need no direction.